To say I'd be happy to speak on this important matter here today would be a wrong statement. I'm not, like Dr Connolly and others. It's a shocking situation that we're in. Last week, my colleagues on the Housing Committee released a report on the family and child homelessness. It is a stark and sobering assessment of the damage that is being perpetrated upon children by the current homelessness strategies. Minister, stark. And like previous ministers, previous speakers, I have no axe to bear with you. You're doing your best, but I think it's a scandal and a disgrace that the Minister for Housing is not here himself. If it was opening an envelope or turning his head, or turning his head for the second or third time on the same side, he'd be there with his hard hat and the whole lot. But can we change up? The committee has been the Housing Committee, intensively engaging on the issue for some considerable time. We have heard from all the main stakeholders, and the assessment is pretty damning, Minister. You know this yourself. What is clear is that the current approaches are simply not working. That is why we as a committee have made 14 recommendations aimed at bringing improvements and, more importantly, relief for families and children into the equation. And that they've been lost in this whole. You've heard it from all the speakers. You must know yourself in your own clinics. We all have them. Desperate situations in our offices every day of the week, and we just can't do anything for them. We are strongly of the view as the committee that the Housing Act 1988 needs to be amended to place a statutory duty on housing authorities to regard the best interests of the child as paramount, and to have regard to the needs of the family, and to make provision of suitable accommodation for that family unit to ensure its effective functioning. Can't function if you're sleeping on the street or sleeping in a hotel or B&B. Can't. Minister, you're a family man yourself, I think. We all have families. Couldn't do it. It must be impossible. We also need to urgently address the need for the limits to be introduced, for time limits to be introduced, limiting the amount of time a family can spend in emergency accommodation in order to minimise the risk of long-term adverse outcomes. This is why we are also calling for the Housing Act 1988 to be amended to place a limit on the amount of time, as I said. It is entirely unacceptable that we are continuing to allow a broken system to persist, a system which is destroying the well-being of children and creating permanent damages to families in every town and village in this state, Minister. Every town and village in this state. The April homeless figures provided by the Department of Housing, Planning and Local Government, your department, Minister, show the total number of homeless families at 1,729, which includes 3,794 dependents in those figures. Figures issued in May by Focus Ireland show that a total of 94 families with 137 children became newly homeless in Dublin alone in April. Just that figure. I mean, what's going on, Minister? I said the figures by Focus Ireland show that a total of 94 families with 137 dependent children became homeless in Dublin alone in the month of April. And you think you stand up here in the Taoiseach today answering questions of the order of business, talk about his record in housing. I don't know, is he the seventh minister now, the Minister for Housing, Minister Murphy, the sixth if not the seventh? We'd be better off we never had a Minister for Housing. We all welcomed it, thought it was great. But there's just such an inertia, such an inability, and such a shame by the benches here this evening that you have the colleagues support you and senior ministers not here. Shocking. In a briefing note we received at the committee, the following points were made clear. Focus Ireland has noted that the latest government figures exclude families who have been assessed as homeless by local authorities. They exclude those families who have been assessed by local authorities. So the figures are being manicured day in, day out. They are receiving homeless support funded by the Department of Housing, or living in emergency homeless accommodation, which has its own front door. So, I mean, there's all kinds of nuances there, and the figures are wholly and entirely deceptive, Minister. Focus Ireland has called for a number of families living in own-door emergency accommodation, the numbers to be published each month, along with the headline figure. And we get that honesty and clarity and, direct assessment and put it out there, the real figures, we're going nowhere, Minister. We can't do that. It's a sad state of affairs. Focus Ireland advise this practice is in practice in England and Scotland, where similar properties are used to accommodate homeless families, and gives a clearer picture of the nature of the problem for policymakers and services. So what they can do in England and Scotland, why are we hiding? It's the same in Northern Ireland Executive. If a house becomes a vacant property, it's re-let within 6 weeks. We're here, we haven't closed up for 3 years. It's an absolute blight on our towns and villages, but it's an absolute scandal when there's such a need for houses. Focus Ireland research also shows that even a short period of homelessness often has a very negative impact on families and their children. A short period of homelessness, couldn't you imagine? Could any of us imagine if we hadn't a home? Over 40% of families who are homeless in Dublin are now in emergency accommodation for over a year. Emergency accommodation is for a week or two. That's a week on emergency, not for 12 months, Minister. I don't know where it's been against the moral compass gone. I knew that you were never really interested in the ordinary little people, but my goodness, the shocking figures that we have now. That figure, 40% of families who are homeless in Dublin are now in emergency accommodation for over a year. And I too take great umbrage with the script that you read out here today, because it's waffle. And you know yourself, it's not. Sorry? I was here, and I watched it. I was here. Of course I was here. I was here for the start of it, and I watched it in my office, okay? Of course I was. I heard your thing, and I've read it. And so it could be used in a different part of this building, not to give us here. As I said, the charity has also, Focus Ireland, has also said that the current situation would be much worse without the work of Focus Ireland, as it helped over 400 families to secure a home last year, and I salute them. And Father Peter McVerry and all the other groups. In partnership with the state, as Focus Ireland provided those 400 houses, didn't do it on their own. And move on from homelessness, those 400 families. The charity stressed that much good work is being done, but the crisis will continue without a substantial increase in social housing provision and a move away from reliance on providing more emergency accommodation and hubs. That's what we have to do. We built them in the 20s, and the 30s, and the 40s, and the 50s, and the 70s, and the 80s. And we built them, we hadn't cranes or equipment, we built houses by the hundred. And it's the greatest con being perpetrated on the people, which are moving figures around and moving announcements. You think you're conning the people, but you're not. You might be conning some people in here, but you're not conning the people out there who are phenomenal. They're waiting for you to come to the doors. And you get them, I'm sure you're getting in the by-elections already. As I said, we must move away from that reliance of providing for emergency accommodation. It's huge money. Focus Ireland has called for a number of key actions to be taken by this government to help ease the crisis, but will you take them? The introduction of specific sub-strategy for addressing the needs of homeless families given the scale of the crisis. The setting of time limits by which no family or person will be homeless for longer than 6 months. This will require new measures to prevent men, women and children losing their homes, and improve measures to help those who are already homeless. And of course you won't bring those measures because you'd have to upset your friends in the banks. You won't stop the banks. And you have your former MEP out there among a million amount of words. He couldn't condemn the CEO of KBC Bank when he wanted to close the page on the tracker mortgage. And that's the arrogance that they have. But they know. You send in your ex-MEP to be the spoofer for him now out there, getting a fine remuneration, I know, and come out. He couldn't even condemn the words. He said they were unfortunate. That's the thinking that you have in your party. That's the respect that you have for the people who are homeless. A commitment to building more social housing in sustainable communities. But you won't do that. You tell us in Tipperary you're building houses and, God, we can't find them. We can't find them. Ensure that local authority publishes guidelines for their staff, setting out what children's first approach to a homeless family would involve. And I salute the frontline staff. They are the core face every day of the week in Tipperary County Council, in Clonmel and Nina and elsewhere. And also ensure that a stream of social housing is made available for vulnerable care leavers who would otherwise face homelessness. So we need to have respect, first of all, and we need to realise that cut out all the coswallop, cut out all the spin, and get meaningful efforts. And we talk about fast-tracking and different schemes you brought in. They're all Ponzi schemes, and you know it. And they're not accessible. Even the home purchase loan in Tipperary, I think one we had in one of the recent years and 5 another year. It's just not working. And the system is so broken, and you're so unable to fix it, and you can't even face the people. You're in here on your own, and another Fine Gael member in the House this evening, or indeed Independence for Change will make up the government. So you should hang your head in shame, Minister, and you should tell the message to your boss, to your senior minister, that he's hiding. But he can't hide from the people with their pound louis when they go in to vote in the ballot box. You have no place to hide. When they put down the ever in the paper, ever a hay and ever a 10 or ever a nil, you can't hide from the people because the people have found you out and your contempt for the people is just staggering.